On this episode of the Magis podcast, we sat down with Canisius political science professor and Erie County Comptroller, Dr. Kevin Hardwick. We discussed political engagement on campus and students' reaction to it, especially with the election less than 1 month away.
What can Canisius do to try to foster those conversations? Are they doing anything? Are they doing anything particularly well?
That extends beyond the Canisius College borders. I mean, you look at what the internet, which is a great thing, but you look at the impact that it's had on newspapers, for instance. We have Twitter wars. You know, we tweet at one another, and a lot of that is anonymous. So you've got, two types of people out there on both sides of the political spectrum. You got people just waiting to take out their grievances and bite someone's head off. And then you've got the literally the silent majority who are afraid of those people and as a result won't say anything.
It's one thing for a professor to discuss how comfortable their students are in sharing their opinions in class.
Most students are not as well informed, not as passionate, if you will, about politics and their position on issues.
Some politically engaged.
One of my majors is political science, so I feel like the classes that I do take, I am very much inclined to talk about them.
Some not so politically engaged.
When politics come up, I usually try to listen to what other people are saying. Personally, myself, I don't try to out there my voice and my opinions on things.
How comfortable they feel discussing politics in class and on campus.
I feel pretty relatively comfortable. I mean, I think anyone in that circumstance would be a little bit nervous about what their peers are going to say, what maybe professor would say, stuff like that. But especially if it's in an environment where I trust not only the students, but the professor involved, I'd be very comfortable.
I feel like it does depend a little bit on the environment in class, but usually professors are open to hearing other opinions.
So we've been in this Trump era for almost 10 years now. It's incredible to think about. Looking at the elections, 2016, 2020, 2024, how does 2024 compare to those previous two?
Maybe like Jaws 2. Even though it's the third election featuring Donald Trump, it's more like Jaws 2. All of a sudden, Jaws 2 came out and they said, oh no, not this again. I mean, there was a lot of fatigue. I think there's having a foot in both worlds, academia and then the real, political, has been beneficial for both, I mean, obviously when I'm in class, I can bring in my own war stories. I don't have to rely on someone else's. And I can get very personal about that and how it affected me. And I have a lot of advice that I try to pass on to my students, many of whom go on and get involved in politics themselves. And it's nice to see the idealism that, after 40 years or so in this business, you tend to get a little bit jaded. And the students can bring you back.